The easiest way to re-engineer your entire mind is to pick a set of daily non-negotiables. When you can do the same daily habits in the morning at the same time, in the same order, 7 days a week, you will rapidly transform yourself as a human. I needed somebody to tell me, bro, you're fucking up. You need to go work on yourself. Everyone else was like, well, you have so much potential. Someday you'll be good. Someday you'll be okay. And guess what? Someday I wasn't. The best realization that I had in my life is that I control basically nothing. Only my actions and my attitude. 90% of my life is going to just happen. And that is God's will for my life. Money will solve money problems, which is a lot of problems in life, but it will not solve my own internal fulfillment. I can only be content with myself if I desire what I already have. And that is not the possessions that I possess, but the character that I am defined by.
Welcome to Wham Bam Thank You Pam. I'm your host, Pam Gaslow, writer, former stand-up comedian, and mastermind behind the 50-year plan to success. I also learned the hard way that you don't bring your vibrator to rehab, and wrote a book about it. Here we have bold, unfiltered conversations about sex, relationships, personal lives, and pop culture with a sharp, sexy, and comedic edge. Wham Bam Thank You Pam is the wildly entertaining, no-holds-barred discussion you didn't know you needed. Hey guys, welcome to Wham Bam Thank You Pam. I'm Pam Gaslow. Today's guest is the former president of 10X Health. He's a recovering drug addict and currently a mindset mentor, Wade Houston.
Well, thank you, Pam. Wham, bam. Thank you, Pam.
Thank you so much for coming here.
Thank you for having me.
So you and I met several years ago, and since then you've become this like larger than life personality and blown up on social media. You have a very dynamic presence.
Why, thank you.
And very persuasive, and you share a lot about where you came from and how you've evolved to where you are today. And I'm a recovering addict as well, as you know, and I love the opportunity to get to speak to someone in recovery and share our stories. And I have to be honest, yours seems a lot worse than mine was from what I've heard. So let's start with that. How bad was your addiction? How did you hit bottom? And what was the catalyst that made you get sober?
I mean, look, it's been a really crazy run. And, you know, to preface all of this, it's very funny that you say, you know, I share a lot about my story. I never wanted to. And so for anybody watching that's like, wow, I've overcome a lot. I've had, you know, addictions in the past. I've had things that, you know, I've improved in my life. Share them. Don't worry about your ego. Don't worry about being vulnerable. Like, if you can help one person with your story, you're going to massively transform your life and others, and the greatest joy and abundance will flow to you. So for anybody that's ever had an issue, just get over it and talk about it, because you can have a profound impact. I never wanted to talk about this, and now I have 30 million unique views per month, and I get probably 50 messages every day from people being like, hey, you helped me in some way, or, you know, or the other. So
yeah, and that's what sobriety is about, and it's about staying sober and helping another alcoholic. And same, like, I've always been honest about my sobriety, and because I'm proud of it. You know, I think people still have shame or embarrassment, and I'm like, no, look what I've done. You know, look what I can do, and you can do it too. Same thing, you know.
I'm not ashamed or embarrassed about anything that I've been through. You know, even robbing kids at gunpoint, even, you know, overdosing, putting my family through hell. Like, it has given me an experience from which I've overcome these issues and been able to transform other people's lives. I was the black sheep of the family. I put my parents through, you know, a lot of sleepless nights, but today I've given them the greatest life that they could ever have. I am their therapist. I am their mentor. I am the leader of the family. I have transitioned their minds, their health, helped both of them, you know, get sober. Even though they're not drug alcoholics or addicts, they were just like, you know, hey, how did you do some of this stuff? How did you change your mind? I've helped them with their relationship, with their business. And the only reason that I've been able to help them with so many different things is because I had all these issues in my life. And once I decided to make the changes, that gave me the ability to help transform others more than somebody who hasn't been through all these experiences.
And, you know, I've brought people that aren't alcoholics to open AA meetings, and everyone can get something out of it. It's how to live life. I'm not suggesting that people that aren't alcoholics go to meetings, but they teach you how to live. And I think we're lucky that we have that because, well, first of all, I don't know where we'd be. And, you know, it's just tools for living.
We're so lucky to have it. In fact, AA is the greatest program of personal discovery and personal development outside of the Bible and, you know, certain, you know, religious practice. But most people never have the opportunity to look at themselves and take an audit of their lives, to take an inventory of their character defects, to look at their ego and their pride and everything that's holding them back from living the life that they could be living. Right?
Because it's hard.
Right. But as an alcoholic and an addict, it's like, hey, I've reached a point where I admitted complete defeat and said, I surrender. I can no longer do this on my own. And when I seeked help, counsel from another person, a sponsor, they brought me through this program of personal development. Like, as you know, as an alcoholic and an addict, I do not have a problem with drugs and alcohol. I have a problem with my mind. And in order to quiet my mind and live at peace, I used drugs and alcohol as my solution. And for many years, drugs and alcohol worked as a solution until it stopped working. Without drugs and alcohol, I have more of an issue than I've ever had in my life because I am left with my mind and an inability to process life without drugs and alcohol, which is where the personal development and the spirituality and the life audit comes, because this is how you re-engineer your mind, creating a spiritual relationship to be able to utilize and handle life without drugs and alcohol.
So what was your bottom?
Oh, man. Okay. As a real quick backstory, I've been kicked out of prep school, kicked out of college, 3 DUIs, 3 assault charges, overdosed, been to rehab multiple times. I used to do 5 Oxycontin 80s a day. I've kind of gone through it all. I moved to Miami 6 years ago, and at that time I was not using pain pills and I was not drinking, but I was still doing Molly and ketamine and weed and Xanax. And I was going out to the club every night for the first 3 months that I moved here. This was January of 2019. By March of 2019, I was just full-blown party mode. Dug myself $100,000 in a credit card debt. I was selling cars at a Land Rover dealership, doing like a gram of ketamine every night, and not drinking, right? So I'm doing coke, smoking weed, eating Xanax, ketamine, and not drinking. I reached a point in which I end up drinking again for the first time in like 6 or 7 years. Okay, and then for the next 3 days, I was just on a bender, drinking every night. On the last night, I ended up at a club in the W called Wall. I leave, my friends are going to 11, and I'm like, nah, I don't want to go. I need to work the next day. I need to go sell cars tomorrow. So I'm sitting there, I order Uber cancels. Order Uber cancels. I did a third time, and I'm like pretty drunk at this point. My friends are all gone, and some woman pulls up in a silver Ford Fusion. It's like a silver sedan. And she says, hey, you want to ride down the beach? And I was like, yeah, perfect.
Was that the Uber or that's just a woman?
Nope, random woman. And I was like, okay, this is great.
So smart.
So I get in the car, and she's like got that big Snoop Dogg fingernail, and she's sniffing lines or whatever. And she looks over at me, she's like, you want a bump? And I'm just thinking to myself, man, this is great. Like, I know that this is probably a hooker and she's got drugs, but like I'm gonna get a ride home, and if I have to pay her, I don't care. And I'm like fucked up. So she scoops me something, and I thought it was what she gave herself, but she gives it to me. And remember, I'm capable of doing like a gram of ketamine in a line. Like I can handle an absurd amount of drugs. I don't know what she gave me, but my face melted into my shoulder after 30 seconds. Wow. And I just woke up like 3 hours later on 11th Street near Flamingo Park. She had stolen my watch, my bracelet, my chain. Left me with my phone and wallet, thank God, but got my jewelry. And I woke up, and it wasn't about the fact that she had taken my jewelry. It was about the fact that I just felt spiritually bankrupt, like so empty. Like, how am I here getting drugged and robbed by hookers and getting taken for all my jewelry when I had the most promising potential and future of all time? Like, how did I get here? And I remember I went home, I went to bed, and I called my dad the next day, and I was like, hey Dad, I got some bad news. You know, like I just got drugged and robbed, and I'm thinking about coming back to Vermont. You know, I don't think this is for me down here. And he was like, listen, the way that I see it, you got 2 choices. Either you can bounce in and out of AA for the rest of your life and continue to be a fucking loser, or you can go to AA, get a sponsor, do the 12 steps, and maybe you'll have a chance at a good life. And that was the first time ever that I had really been like, wow, my dad is so right. That's the truest thing he's ever said. Those are my 2 choices.
Had you been going to AA prior to that?
I had been court mandated at 24 when I got my 3rd DUI. I was court mandated to go. I had done a half-assed 4th step. That was the farthest I had ever gotten in AA. So I knew what AA was. I had been introduced to it before, but I had done AA in a very surface level way in which I would sit in the outside of the room, not get any numbers, hardly work with a sponsor, and lie through my teeth. At this point, I reached a point of desperation and spiritual emptiness that I said, you know what? I'm going to get help. So I walked into an AA meeting, and this is what I used to do. I used to go into AA meetings, and I would look around the room, and I'd be like, these fucks, these losers. Like, I'm an Ivy League guy. Like, I'm way too intellectual and educated for any of these people. Like, where's all the ballers in here? I don't want to be like any of these people. I'm out. But this time, I showed up, and I said, I got nothing to lose. And I chose a sponsor right away. And instead of trying to choose someone that was like me, I chose someone that had a good message, that had good recovery, and that obviously was working with other people. And he was nothing like me. He was gay. His mom was a gypsy growing up. He wasn't an athlete. He didn't look like me, nothing. And that man saved my life as a result of me just finally giving up my ego and being like, I'm gonna work with this dude.
That's
and
how it is. Yeah.
I did every single thing he said. Imagine, you know some of my friends and what my life was like before. I was in the studio with Future and Yo Gotti. I was at the Mondrian with models. I was at Live with people spending $100K on bottles. Like I had a crazy life. So for me to go from that to, hey, Wade, you're going to get a coffee commitment at the 7 a.m. meetings. You're going to start baking cookies for kids at the young people's meetings. You're going to pick up other alcoholics and addicts from a halfway house on your way to meetings every night. You're going to read. You're going to meet with me. You're going to do all these things. I was like, bro, I got to bake cookies on Saturday nights at 7. I'm like, I'm usually at the Mondrian with the models. Like, there's no chance I'm going to, and I would do it. I would literally still, even once in a while, be at the Mondrian, like hanging out. And I would just be like, oh, gotta go. I'm going to go bake sugar cookies.
Right, but you had the gift of desperation.
That's
That's
it.
what they call it.
100%.
Yeah, and you had no choice. I mean, like, I remember when I went to rehab twice, and the second time I went, I wanted to leave immediately. And I was high when I walked in, and I'm like, I'm gonna leave. And I'm like, where are you going exactly? Like, you're gonna go home and do what? Like, continue living the way you were living that got you here? Or you stay here and you suffer through the hard first few days and you hopefully come out the other side. So whatever it takes, that's what they say. And I love that because I understand it all, and that's what you have to do. And yeah, you don't want to live a shallow, pointless life and getting robbed and spending so much money and not remembering, and it's empty. I mean, it can be fun, we know that, but
For a little while.
at a certain point, it's just like,
What AA actually teaches you by having these commitments is the foundation of mental reengineering. This is what so many people miss. Your life is just a set of decisions all day long. Do I get up or do I sleep in? Do I eat well or do I eat shitty? Do I work out or not? Do I pray or not? Do I meditate or not? Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Okay, right? So when I'm sitting at the Mondrian and my mind is like, stay here, don't get up, don't go to Whole Foods, don't get cookies, and don't go to that meeting, but I do it anyway, this is how I start to gain focus, energy, mental clarity, mental resilience, drop my vices. That is the foundation. Doing what you do not want to do on a consistent basis is how you re-engineer your mind, period. That's it, nothing else.
And I go through that same thing every day. I'm like, get up or sleep late, work out or don't walk. Every day it's a battle. And even though you do it so often, you're just like, oh, today I don't have to do it. And you slip back. But how do you feel about California sober, ridiculous or fair?
California sober is smoking weed?
Yeah, or some people think it's like, now it's interpreted, from what I understand, is, because I asked somebody else recently, and they're like, yeah, well, I don't drink, but I take edibles and smoke and like 3 things. And I'm like, but that's not sober.
Yeah, no, it's not sober at all. It's just, look, at the end of the day, any mood or mind-altering substance for an addict or an alcoholic is going to limit their ability to grow, limit their ability to actually handle life without their vices. Some people might utilize weed or edibles for some other purpose, and they can do it in a way that's totally fine for their life. As an alcoholic and an addict, it will limit your development 100%.
Yeah.
It's just an excuse. It's always going to lead back to something else.
Because when people talk about it, it's like when Demi Lovato was going all around saying she's California sober, I'm like, this is such a disservice to people that are trying to get sober. You know, people are looking up to her. And then, of course, she said, oh, I'm not that anymore. Now I'm really sober, because it doesn't work.
Right.
But, you know, I just think it's a really, and that's my opinion, I think it's a really bad message from a sober person for people to say that.
I mean, for me, removing drugs and alcohol was just the very beginning of the journey.
It's a symptom.
You don't
like you
need
said.
drugs and alcohol, okay? But once you get sober, you're still going to have a lot of issues in your mind that are hardwired. And when you can consistently elevate your mind, you're going to realize that there's a crazy life beyond drugs and alcohol. I don't even think about drugs and alcohol, but I do think about consistently growing in my effectiveness each and every day. There's so many levels to this. Like, drugs and alcohol do not need to be a part of any of it if you want to be a really high level achiever.
100%. So you were successful in the corporate world. You were the former president of 10X Health. What made you decide to leave that corporate world and go out on your own?
Well, at the end of the day, I'm not a corporate guy. I do not communicate in the nicest way, oftentimes. I have no desire to watch what I say, how I act, how I dress. Moreover, I don't ever want to be in an office, and I can't stand authority. I feel like a literal slave when someone tells me when to be at a meeting, when to be in an office, sit in traffic, get dressed up. I cannot stand all of that. I did enjoy learning from Brandon Dawson and working with Gary Brecka and scaling 10X. It learned me invaluable skills, but I'm my own guy. You know, I want to have my own companies. I'm more than capable of having my own companies. And so I reached a point where I'm like, look, I'm burnt with this. I'm going to start a consultancy. And so I actually left 10X, started a healthcare consultancy, and then consulted for 10X for the next whole year. I basically actually helped them run the company from the back without actually being a part of the company. And it was the greatest thing ever, you know, because I got to have other clients. I created pricing models for a bunch of other functional medicine companies, and I got to work with stem cell clinics, and, you know, I was out on my own. I was wearing tank tops every day and working from my office.
You got to wear this.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, so much better.
How did you get into mentoring, and what is a mindset mentor? Explain that.
Okay, so about 4 months into my sobriety, I met my mentor. I was given an opportunity to have a conversation with him over coffee. I kind of explained my situation, my life, and what I was looking to do. And he said, hey, look, I don't really work with a lot of people, but I'm willing to take a chance with you and meet with you. You got to meet at my house at 7 a.m. every Saturday.
I knew you were going to say 7 a.m.
Yeah, 7 a.m. every Saturday. He would say, meet at my house and we'll take a walk. And I was going to the 7 a.m. meetings always, because that's where all the ballers were, you know. Anyone who was taking their life serious, like any of the businessmen, they were all going to the 7 a.m.
Is that why I don't see them? Because I don't wake up early?
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. If you just want to go find like all the richest sober people in Miami, just go to the 7 a.m. meeting on Sobi. Like, you'll find ballers.
Well, now that I have a puppy, I'm up, so I
do it.
Yeah.
It's literally how I grew my entire network. Like, all the ballers that I networked with was from that meeting.
It's the whole world. It's around the corner from me, and I don't even know this is
so
going
easy.
on. Okay.
So easy. So he became my mentor. And one thing that was interesting is he said, hey, look, if you're ever 1 minute late, I'll never work with you again. And if you ever ask me why you should do something that I tell you to do, I'm not going to work with you anymore. This is like the biggest thing that people miss, is they're like, wait, why will this work? How will it work? When will it work? And my response is always, shut the fuck up. I know I'm not supposed to swear anymore because I just got baptized, but I can't help but say this, because it's like, you guys are so dumb that in your mind, you think you need to know how, why, or when something is going to work. You don't know, and even if I told you how it's going to work, it doesn't matter, because the information itself will not change your mind. The application of the information is what is going to change your mind. So whatever I tell you to do, I'm not telling you to do it because I want to see you fail or because I want to see you win. I'm telling you to do it because that is how you are going to learn. That is how you're going to get better, right?
It's like asking someone, why do I have to make cookies for the meeting?
Right.
Because you do.
Exactly, because you do. If someone was like, if I'm like, hey, I want to learn Spanish, and they're like, okay, great, you're going to pick up Rosetta Stone, you're going to start listening to this music, watching English movies with Spanish subtitles, you're going to do X, Y, and Z, and you need to speak every day, regardless of how good or proficient you are at speaking. You are going to speak consistently and make many mistakes and then get corrected. And as you speak more and more, you will become fluent. But without the part of you actually doing the speaking, the rest of that information is pointless. You know how many people I've seen that be like, dude, how did you learn Spanish in 3 months? How come I can't do it? Because you didn't try. I actually just spoke and spoke and spoke and spoke.
Or you didn't try hard enough.
Right. It's like, because people don't apply the information that they're given. And so when my sponsor said this, I never asked him ever, why do I have to create 17 business plans? Why do I have to read this book or this podcast or whatever it is? I just did it. As a result of doing that, my mentor helped me create a stoic mindset, a disciplined mindset, a growth mindset. He helped me understand basically everything about life that I never understood. That man changed my life more than any one person in the world times 800.
You're lucky that you found this man.
Oh yeah, he's a blessing.
And now you've become a clone of him.
Okay, not only have I become
I heard you on the phone before. You're like, don't ask me why.
Right? Not only have I become a clone, he's become a dear friend of mine, and now I'm helping him structure his new venture. He just exited his company for $800 million, but now he's looking to structure something that he wants my feedback on. And so now when I meet with him, yes, he's still my mentor, but he's become such a friend that he seeks out, my advice.
Yeah.
And so, okay, look, at the end of the day, I did every single thing that this guy said. And as a result of doing that, I stayed sober. I changed my mindset. I went from a car salesperson to president of 10X Health, negotiated all my deals. We acquired the company that I built before 10X, integrated it in. I negotiated my equities. Like everything that I did was a result of this guy. Along the way, when COVID started, I started personally developing people, helping them with fitness plans, helping them with nutrition plans, with mindset, with habits. And each company that I scaled, the first thing I would do when I would go into the company, Health Gains before 10X and 10X, was create a personal development roadmap for every single employee. So rather than just showing up to work every day and be like, yo, you got to do X, Y, and Z. Here's your incentive plan. Here's what you do. I'm like, yo, what do you eat each day? What are you doing for workouts? What's your morning routine like? And what are your goals like? And I'm going to help you guys tailor a plan of personal development each and every morning so that I can help you optimize yourselves, personally develop and achieve the goals you're looking to achieve, and also make the money that you want to make here working with the company. I basically just have been a mentor since it was taught to me.
And you're great. You can be my mentor.
I am.
I'm learning right now. I know. You talk a lot about non-negotiables because I watch your videos.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. That's like what? That's like your daily must-dos, right?
The easiest way to re-engineer your entire mind is to pick a set of daily non-negotiables. It doesn't matter if you have 4 daily non-negotiables or 15, but when you can do the same daily habits in the morning at the same time, in the same order, 7 days a week, you will rapidly transform yourself as a human. This is what that looks like. You pick a wake-up time early, like try and be before the sun comes up, okay? So let's just say it's 6 a.m. Don't hit snooze. Don't go right to the phone. You get up, you get out of bed. Then you have to choose, what are you going to do next? For me, it's prayer, meditation, read a page in a book, right? Those are my 3 non-negotiables. And then it's get dressed, go to the gym, okay? For anybody, if they just pick the simplest, I'm going to wake up at a specific time, I'm going to read a page in the book, and I'm going to go to the gym. If they just did those 3 each and every day, they would start to strengthen their mind. They start to reduce their vices. Like I've worked with people in my program that just followed a very simple 3-4 step daily non-negotiable. Stop smoking the puff bar, stop smoking cigarettes, stop watching so much porn, stop jerking off 50 times a day, stop fucking whores, stop, improve their confidence, energy, mental clarity, get in better shape, improve their health. Like everything gets better by following a set of habits each day.
I agree with you 100%. I've seen my life change even in the past couple of years because I had just changed my diet, like just that alone. Now I work out and I work out with weights. Like it's little things, but it makes you feel good about yourself. But it's so easy to tell somebody to do this, and it's so hard for people to do it. I don't know where, every day I'm like, you're not doing enough. And that's good because maybe it pushes me a little bit more. But I think I'm like the best I've ever been now with the same thing with waking up early, eating right, working out. But it's so easy to tell someone, oh, don't press snooze. Oh, don't watch porn. How do you do that?
Look, telling someone to do it will never change them, right? And it is very hard. Even for me, like before I was introduced to people that were my motivation, that showed me the path and that showed me what was possible each and every day, I would still negotiate with my mind. But when I saw people on social media that were showing their wake-up time every day, they were showing what supplements they were taking, they were showing their prayer or morning workout routine, they were showing their gym routine every single day, that motivation is what made me think, oh, wow, this is possible. And then when you join a group, this is why I have this group. The best way to do it if you're really struggling is you invest in yourself. If you spend $1,000 on a 3-month program or $2,000, you're much more likely to start actually doing the work, right? You paid the money. And for most people, that's actually what it takes. Invest in yourself, have the accountability, join the group, and have somebody who's a mentor who you look up to who's actually leading the way and doing the work.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, if I pay for something, I'm showing up.
Yeah.
And that's why I have a trainer. Because
Totally.
if I didn't have a trainer, I'm not fucking doing one thing. I'm being honest, I'm not going to do it.
Exactly.
And I'm lucky that I'm in the position that I can, and that's okay. So here's something. Your online presence is very tough and no nonsense. Almost militant. You're smiling, but in person, you're like incredibly warm and easygoing. And is that intentional? Do you feel you have to show a different side online to get people's attention? Like, who's the real you, or is it both?
It's both. You know, I have a very dual personality. You know, I think you know this a little bit. Like, I am in certain situations very soft and patient, and I can be in a conversation and just ask a lot of questions and really take my time and be consultative. You know, that's how I became excellent at sales. But I also have my belief that it is my duty to make sure that I'm not sugarcoating shit for people, right? Like, I needed somebody to tell me, bro, you're fucking up. You need to go work on yourself. Everyone else was like, well, you have so much potential. Someday you'll be good. Someday you'll be okay. And guess what? Someday I wasn't. Until one person said to me, bro, you're fucking up, man. Like, you're just kind of a loser. You're wasting everything and it's pathetic. Like, go work on yourself. And I was like, damn. And so I needed that. And that's why I speak the way that I do on camera. So yeah. I'm both, you know?
I remember this just reminded me, like 25 years ago or 20 years ago, I had a breakup and I was so fucked up from it. Like, I couldn't stop crying. I was inconsolable. And, you know, everyone around me was like, are you okay? Whatever. And I spoke to somebody like you, who is a friend of mine. He's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You're 26 years old. He's like, stop this shit. You need help. And he was the one that like snapped me out of it.
Exactly.
And I was like, wait, I can't. Everyone's like, are you okay? And this guy's, and I listened to him. He's like, you need help. Go get help. And I was like, he's right. And I'm like, I need people like this. Who are honest and who are like, come on.
Exactly. I think the reason that I'm like that is because so many people are dwelling about something that happened in the past. Like you're just talking about right here, right? You're like, oh, this situation, I can't believe this happened. It's like, whoa, why don't you just work on yourself? This should be an opportunity for you to look internally. Same thing with people with overanalyzing or too much fear, constantly projecting into the future. It's like, bro, chill. Come back to the present moment. Stop worrying about getting the things or the shit that bruised you in the past. Start focusing on how can you improve your emotional intelligence, your mindset, your clarity, your communication, your perspective. And when you have that perspective, you're going to handle more situations like this more swiftly so that you can get through these things.
Well, it's also focusing on what you can control. And you can't control the past, you can't control the future, and all you can control is what you're going to do now. And you can't control other people, but you can control your reactions to them.
Right.
And that's what a lot of people don't understand.
The best realization that I had in my life is that I control basically nothing, only my actions and my attitude. 90% of my life is going to just happen, and that is God's will for my life. If someone drugs me and robs me, that wasn't an action that I took, but as a result of that happening, I could do one of two things. I could say, wow, I'm going to bury my head in the sand. I'm going to feel bad for myself, smoke more weed, eat more Xanax, do more pills, and just lose my life away. Or I'm going to say, wow, this happened to me for a reason. I need to make a change.
Right. And I look at it as like, also, why did that happen to you? If you weren't fucked up, it wouldn't have happened. So, it's the same thing. It's just a different way of saying it.
When I got into AA, I was telling this story, right? And after 3 weeks of being in AA, I told this story to this man. I said, yeah, I got drugged and robbed, and I remember what the woman looks like. I think I'm going to see if I can put on a fake Rolex and go stand outside that club for the next couple weeks and find her, and if I do, I'm going to fucking kill her. And he was like, you shouldn't kill that lady. He's like, in fact, if you ever see this woman again, you should give her a hug and thank her because she is your angel. I'm like, what? I'm like, Nacho, what are you talking about, bro? And he's like, listen, You just told me that you bounced in and out of AA for 10 years. You never got sober. You never changed your life. And you've lived a shitty, miserable existence. But that woman brought you to a position in your life where you decided you needed to surrender and accept help. And already in 3 weeks, you're having a spiritual experience and changing your life. That woman is the reason that you are changing your life. She is your angel. And I was like, wow, that's a crazy perspective.
I love that for you. And would anyone else ever give you that perspective?
No.
Right.
The
whole thing is just amazing, you know,
Yeah.
how the whole thing works. So you a lot of times show success on social media through like images of beautiful cars and glamorous places. But do you personally equate success with material things, or are you simply reflecting what most people aspire to when promoting your program?
Okay, so material success shows that you've had monetary success in business. And so that should be an aspiration for many people, because monetary success in business creates a comfortable life. Now, I was always of the mindset that the car, the girl, or the house was going to make me happy. And when I got those things, the first time I ever made $500K as a financial advisor, and I had a nice house in Vermont, and I had a dope car, and I was on vacation, I had all the Louis bags, I had all the shit, I was empty. I was like, whoa, the material possessions and the money will not solve all of my problems, and it will not make me happy. In fact, the more money I make and the more items that I acquire, the less happy I will become incrementally with each thing I acquire, such that I will already be dissatisfied before I acquire the next larger thing. This is called hedonic adaptation. And my mentor helped me understand these Stoic principles that money will solve money problems, which is a lot of problems in life, but it will not solve my own internal fulfillment. I can only be content with myself if I desire what I already have. And that is not the possessions that I possess, but the character that I am defined by. And so my value today is defined by the person that I am, how I treat other people, how I treat myself, the actions that I take, right? That is success. So money is just saying, hey, this person has done good in business, but that is not the end all be all. It will not solve all your problems.
Yes. I just need to clarify that. I knew that wasn't really how you thought. So who are people who can benefit most from your help? Like, who are your clients? Are they people just starting out, or are they people middle of the road that want to succeed more?
So I have two different programs. One is a foundational program, and then I have a one-on-one business mentorship. My clients vary. I have kids that are 17 years old. I got a guy that's 62 in my program, at all different stages in life. The people that I work with, they all have a desire to improve their mind, their physique, their health, their business, their relationships, somewhere in those 5 pillars. I have kids that are in sales. I have people that are business owners. I have people that are wildly successful. I have people that are just starting out on their journey, and I have people that are at rock bottom. I really can help people in all areas. My foundational program is for anybody that's committed to improving their health, getting in better shape, strengthening their mindset, dropping their vices, right? And so that's an array of people. My business program is really for salespeople, professionals, and business owners. That's who I work with in my business mentorship.
How often, because I know it's happened, because I know you a little bit, how often do you have to fire someone? Because like maybe people get involved. I mean, they get an idea of who you are first, because you're tough. And I understand if you're going to sign up for this, you better understand what you're getting into. But does it happen? I'm sure it's happened.
Yeah, I've had a couple people that have joined my program where I'm like, hey, this is just really not a good fit. I just refund their money and give it back, and it's fine. I prefer to only work with people that are a good fit for my program. I actually, as part of my sales process, I have something called fit determination. Let's make sure that you're a good fit for my program before we waste either of our time. Right? Yeah. If you're way too over analytical and you're going to question every little thing that I tell you, like, hey, bro, don't worry about it. If you're going to actually do the work that I tell you to do without questioning everything, awesome, let's get to work. I'm going to change your entire life right now if you actually do this work.
What's the best life advice you've ever received?
Fear isn't real. Right? And what I mean is the worst possible outcome that can ever exist in any situation is what we project in our mind prior to the situation ever occurring. even worse, the outcome that we project, we don't know how that outcome will actually affect our life. Here's an example. My grandmother passed away early. I think, I don't know, many years ago. At that time, my dad's side of the family, everyone wasn't really talking to each other that much. It's not like anyone had a great relationship, right? At her funeral and afterwards, we were all together. And as a result of her passing, this ended up strengthening the bond that didn't exist between most of my family members and creating a much tighter knit family that all had a great relationship together. So was my grandmother's passing a good thing or a bad thing? I could have never projected that her early death would actually strengthen my entire family. I would have never guessed that. But that death, that bad thing, that shitty outcome actually was a beautiful thing that created a better life for all of us. You just never know how an outcome is going to affect you. And when you have fear around a situation, it will limit you from taking action. And even worse, it will limit you from failing. The most successful people, and especially in my own experience, have failed more than the people who will never be successful. My failures are the thing that taught me more than any of my success. But if I didn't try, I wouldn't fail. So you got to try.
Yeah. No, I love that story about your grandmother. I'm going to remember that. That's going to stick in my head now. What's something every entrepreneur should know?
There's no room for emotion in business except for celebration.
Okay.
Your job as an entrepreneur is to regulate your own emotions first so that you can make as many decisions out of logic as humanly possible.
Smart. Yeah.
You're going to deal with chaos all day long. My job as president of 10X Health was like, doctors come into my office, the medication's out, this is out. This is my director of operations coming in and being like, hey, the salespeople overpromising. The salespeople coming into my office being like, the leads are crappy. My WhatsApp going off, my emails going off, my Slack going off. I'm on a Zoom at the same time. I got like 50 things going on around me. I have to be able to maintain my equanimity at all times so that I am the general. What people are going to look at as a business owner, as an entrepreneur or a president is, how does this person handle problems? How do they accept the responsibility and regulate their own emotions so that we as a business can continue to move forward? Because if I'm erratic, the business is going to be erratic. So it's my job to be the most competent, emotional person in the world if I have a desire to scale a business the way that I have in the past.
I love that. You're hired to run my business. Okay. What's one thing you struggle with that would surprise people?
I'll focus.
Okay.
I have zero focus. I'm an absolute crackhead. I can't be left alone in a room for a period of time.
What do you mean?
I won't do anything that I'm supposed to do.
Okay.
Nothing.
But how do you function? I imagine you're alone.
I make content and then I get feedback from my team. Or before I had a team, I would get messages and I would close them. I'm really good with connection, with human interaction, right? But if I have to sit in a room for 3 hours, create a new program or a PowerPoint deck or something like that, not going to happen.
Okay.
Ever.
That's what I thrive on. I love being alone and doing stuff.
Zero. Like everything that every test I ever had to pass or documentation or thing that I had to do, I would just pay people to do it.
Now you're telling everyone.
Always. You know what? When I joined as president of 10X Health, they were like, hey, like, what's the one thing that, you're not great at? Like tell us. They asked me this as well. And I said, listen, I am not going to write long emails and document processes and do any organizational task work. It will never happen. I'm like, my strong suit is obviously speaking and directing people in a way that they can understand very clearly what needs to happen next. So I would like permission for every single employee to just record what I say so that they can then do the work and the implementation. They're like, yeah, that's a great idea. We'll get a content team for you.
No, and it's great that you have that awareness and you know what you're not good at, because then that helps other people be able to work with you.
Totally.
And to be upfront about it and not down the line someone be like, why can't you do this and why can't you do that? Yeah.
We also found that it was an extremely efficient way to run a company, because my salespeople would come in and they would have a notepad and they would be like, hey man, like I'm going to take some notes on this feedback. And I'm like, don't. Record me and focus while I'm talking to you, and then you can go back and look at the video. But I want you to watch me, because when you watch me, you're going to understand how I hold my hands. my facial expressions, my tone. And I want you to start to study me. I'm not saying that I'm the cream of the crop, but I have studied other people, and I did not waste my time taking notes, trying to think about what I was doing. I was observing great people. And as a result of this, I helped my operations manager, my salespeople, my marketing department, everyone. They would just go back to the videos and be like, wow, I don't even have to ask Wade any follow-up questions. It's all right here.
Don't ask me a question. If you recorded it, please don't.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
right?
if you have a smart follow-up, but yeah.
And now you just take the video and you take the transcript and then you put it into ChatGPT and you can do whatever you want with it, right?
I know. When you're not coaching people to live their best lives, what's your guilty pleasure? Great. Are you single?
Yeah.
What kind of woman should slide into your DMs?
It's a brutal list.
Oh shit, let's hear it.
Brutal.
Now it's gonna get fun. Forget the rest of this show.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I made an ideals list, okay, because I'm super, super picky, right? So I've been single for so long just because I'm like, man, it's gonna be a tough list. First thing is they have to have
Wait, let me take notes. I'm just kidding.
They have to have a relationship with God, right? They have to be spiritual in some way. If not, it's just never gonna work. They have to be fit and care about exercise. Excellent communicator. I cannot have a girl that is limiting her ability to communicate because her emotions cloud her judgment all the time. They have to be a somewhat decent estimator of time. I can't be like, when are you done your nail appointment and when are you going to be home, and have them be like, in an hour and a half, and be like, your nail appointment's in Hollywood, you're getting gel coat and a pedicure, and it's 5 o'clock at traffic time. You're going to be home in 4 hours. I can't babysit, right? Okay.
Right.
So God, exercise, healthy, communicator, decent estimator of time, has to want to be a mother.
You want kids?
I want kids.
Okay.
Has to want to be a mother. Athletic, open-minded, down for anything.
Does that mean sexually?
Both sexually and athletically or mentally,
Okay.
with anything, like, hey, a growth mindset, right?
Yeah.
But definitely has to be a freak, like has to be a performer as well.
Yeah.
And I really only date Latin girls.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
I didn't know this.
So like,
I mean, how would I?
it's a tough list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you get a lot of DMs?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you respond?
I mean, I'll like heart the message, you
Right.
know what I mean? I don't like leave people on red.
Right.
Yeah.
You'll throw them a crumb with the heart.
No, I mean, it just, I'm not hearting what they're saying. I'm hearting the attention.
Exactly. Yeah. What else do you want to say? I think we've covered a lot. You're amazing. You're very impressive.
Thanks.
I mean, I'm borderline. Do I want to be coached by you, or do I want to kill myself? I know, you know what I mean. I don't know if I want to sign up for this.
Of course.
Do I get a discount?
Sure.
Okay.
We could work on a
That's
discount.
fair.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming, and you were insightful, intelligent, well-spoken, and you're a power of example in a lot of ways.
Thanks.
And I really appreciate it.
And you too, don't forget that.
Thank you.
It's an important thing to remember when you've had the amount of sobriety that you've had and you've been through so many things that you've been through, and you have the ability to write that you do, that you can affect a lot of people.
Yeah.
As long as every single problem in your life is actually an opportunity to overcome it and then show other people how you overcame it, you can have a more transformative impact on other people than you really think,
100%.
especially because you speak so well. So don't forget that. Every time a problem comes in your life, I know it's so cliche, but it's like, hey, if I just solve this one, I could probably help some other people solve this too.
Yes. I have to remember that as well.
Yeah.
It's a we program. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome.